Hi guys, welcome to this video where we are going to be carrying on with looking at the trigonometry on the Excel 2022 formula sheet. This time we are going to be focusing on the cosine rule. So last time we looked at the sine rule, which works for any triangle, not just right angle triangles. So this time we're going to be looking at the cosine rule. So if I have a look at cosine rule, it looks really daunting, but actually if we break it down it's not going to be that bad. So a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. So what that is saying is the value of this side here squared is equal to this long horrible looking equation here. So the cosine rule helps us find out what the missing side is. That is primarily what its use is. But we will be looking in future, actually the next video, using it to find unknown angles, but just for the time being we're going to be looking at unknown sides. So if we just remember our labelling, we always have the lowercase letter opposite the uppercase letter representing the angle. So our A's are here, our C's are here, and our B's are here. So if we look here, to find a squared we need B, C, so that appears there and there. They then appear here on cosine A. So the three variables that are actually being used here to find A squared are B, C, and the cosine of A. So actually what we refer back to, what I was always taught, and the way I always remember it, is we're looking for a corner cluster. So two sides and an angle between them. So you will always need a corner cluster to solve any problems with the cosine rule. So if we look here, let's try and relate the diagram that we've got to the drawing we've got for the first question. So if I have a look here, the cosine rule involves two sides, B and C, and then cosine of the angle A. So what I'm going to do, the given angle, I'm going to call that A. And the two sides I'm given, I'm going to call B and C. Now you can see I've already got my corner cluster there. This is looking good for the cosine rule. So just for completion, I'm going to finish my labelling. So lowercase a goes here, uppercase C goes here, uppercase B goes here, but they're not going to be relevant here. I'm just being asked to find what X is. So just remember, I've got my corner cluster. I can, if you just imagine chopping off everything else in that triangle, I've got a side, an angle, and another side. And actually you'll see all three letters are used. Okay? So let's just write out the cosine rule. All I'm doing now is copying it down exactly as it appears in the formula sheet. So a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared. Take away 2bc times cosine a. So some of you may have already noticed this is actually just a slightly adapted version of the Pythagoras Theorem. Okay, if we just ignore that, we've got Pythagoras Theorem. Okay, so actually, just a little side note, if your angle's 90 degrees, well, cos of 90, if you do it on a calculator, actually gives you 0. So this would all disappear. So actually, Pythagoras Theorem is essentially just the cosine rule, just a very specific example of it. So what I'm going to do then is, just like I did with the sine rule, my SOHCAHTOA work, even my Pythagoras work, is just substituting what I know. So lowercase a, I know is x, so that's becoming x squared. Lowercase b, I've called 8, so I'm going to say 8 squared. And lowercase c is 6, so plus 6 squared. Then I'm going to take away 2 times by b, which is 6, times by c, which is 8, times by cos 50, cos A. So you'll see it doesn't actually matter whether I call this one B or this one B and vice versa, C or C, because they are both being squared and added to each other, and they are both being multiplied by 2. So it doesn't really matter which way around that happens. So I can just tidy this up before I even go to a calculator. So 8 squared is 64, 6 squared is, getting ahead of myself, 36. I'm taking away 2 times 6 times 8. 2 times 6 is 12, times by 8 is 96. So 96 cos 50. So again, if I'm feeling confident, I could have just typed all of that into my calculator and it would have given me the value of x squared. I'm just breaking it down slowly to make sure that I get the correct answer. I don't make any errors typing it into my calculator. So 64 plus 36 is 100. I'm taking away 96 cos 50. Now if I type it into my calculator, it's actually going to give me the value of x squared. So 100, bit of glare there, take away 96 times cos 50 gives me 38.29 238947. I'm just going to copy that down, 38.29238947. And final step, I've worked out what x squared is. That's not what the question asked. It asked what is x. So I'm going to do the square root of that answer. And it gives me x is equal to 6.18808, etc. So x is equal to 6.2 centimetres, 1 decimal place. Okay, so moving on to my next question. Again, we can see straight away we've got a corner cluster. Okay, you will get really good at identifying that with time, and knowing you're going to have to apply the cosine rule here. So again, I'm going to do my labelling. So the angle I've been given, or the angle the cosine rule deals with, is capital A. So the angle I'm given, I'm going to call capital A. The two sides touching that angle are lowercase b and c. Just for completion, I'm going to write everything else in. Side opposite A is lowercase a. The angle opposite side C is capital C. The angle opposite side B is capital B. So, cosine rule again, I'm just copying this out. You might think there's not really much point in doing this, especially as it's given to you in the formula sheet, but actually I feel like it really does help you with the substituting in. It helps to focus your mind. It also makes it really clear to the examiner if you know what you're doing. So again, let's just pick out what I know and sub it into this rule. So A, I can see here, is actually y. So we're going to say y squared is equal to 15 squared plus 17 squared, take away 2 times by 15 times by 17 times by cos A. My capital A is 80 degrees. Quite a lot going on there. So again, I could evaluate 15 squared, 17 squared, and 2 times 15 times 17 and write a middle line in. Alternatively, like I said, if you are feeling confident, you can just type it into a calculator as long as you are very careful. So y squared is going to be equal to 15 squared plus 17 squared, take away 2 times 15 times 17 times cos. It gives me 425.439429. Now lots of people, because they've done a lot of working on their calculator there, would want to pause it or stop it there, and I think that's the answer. Remember, you've got to square root it. I found out what y squared is. I want to know what y is. So y is going to be equal to the square root of that, which gives me 20.6 centimetres to 1 decimal place. Okay, and the final one. Now you do have to be really careful here because it doesn't look, it's not entirely clear where the opposites are. Lots of people will make mistakes working out what is opposite what. So you'll see straight away I've got my corner cluster, side, angle, side. So I'm going to call this capital A because that's what the cosine rule deals with, capital A. The two sides touching angle A are lowercase b and c. Side opposite my angle is actually going to be z. So I'm going to call that lowercase a, and then just for completion, this is capital B, this is capital C. So, cosine rule, all I'm doing, remember, is copying from my formula sheet. Please do not apply any brain power in remembering this. Okay, it's in the formula sheet, you just need to know that you are subbing it in and know when you should be using it. So, A is actually Z, so Z squared is equal to 7 squared plus 8.9 squared, take away 2 times 7 times 8.9 times cos 15. Just squeeze that in. So Z squared equals, again I can just do this on my calculator in one go. So 7 squared plus 8.9 squared, take away 2 times 7 times 8.9 times cos 15. That gives me Z squared is 7.8556, etc. Z is equal to the square root of that, 2.802798183, or 2.8 centimetres in 1 decimal place. But actually, the fact you're given the cosine rule makes that a lot easier. It's not an easy substitution you have to do, but actually the fact you don't need to remember that means your life has been made so much more straightforward. So hopefully that will help you pick up some marks. In my next video I'm going to be looking at using the cosine rule but to find a missing angle. So I hope that's been useful and I'll see you later guys.